Over the last week, my home state of Nebraska has been hit by bitter winter storms. We've had sub-zero temperatures, snow, and high winds that have closed many roads across the state of Nebraska. As always, in times like these, Nebraskans step up to help. I want to thank all of our first responders, whether they were snowplow drivers, law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, other emergency personnel, all the folks who demonstrated their grit and service this last week to be able to help people out. And I especially want to thank the Nebraska State Patrol for the over 1,400 drivers they assisted during this crippling winter weather. Hospitals saw a number of frostbite injuries. Our farmers and ranchers continued to work to ensure our food supply here at home. And I want to thank my federal delegation as well, and will work with them to provide any support that is needed. And I appreciate that Governor Jim Pillen has declared a state of emergency and will also assist with any federal assistance that may be needed for this emergency. As we recover from these storms, I stand ready to work with my colleagues. It's also an opportunity for us to be able to think about how government can do better. Many times a storm like this will create situations that we need to tease out what we should do better for the next time. However, in this case, one of the lessons has become clear right away. As we all know, the EPA has a mandate that they want all new cars and trucks sold by the year 2032, I shouldn't say all, 2/3 of all cars and trucks sold by the year 2032 to be electric vehicles. This weekend, we saw why this is just a dumb idea. These EV mandates are burdensome and do not work in places like the upper Midwest, where we can see these bitter cold temperatures. We saw that EVs don't work well when the temperature drops so precipitously. Turns out they're just not reliable when the weather turns this cold. Fox 32 in Chicago had a story which I'm going to quote from here. They reported public charging stations have turned into car graveyards over the past couple of days. The story goes on to describe, and I quote, dozens of EV owners trying to desperately power up their cars at supercharging stations in Oak Brook. It was a scene mirrored with long lines and abandoned cars at scores of other charging stations around the Chicago area, end quote. Also in the story, there was a driver who referred to all the stalled electric vehicles as dead robots. Car graveyards and dead robots, is that the future we want? I don't think so. And this happened in Chicago, where there are a lot of EV charging stations. What about my home state of Nebraska, where we don't have as many? President Biden's own Department of Energy map shows no EV chargers on a 244-mile stretch of highway from Broken Bow to Scotts Bluff. There is not a charging station within 65 miles of Gordon, Nebraska. Many rural communities are more than an hour's drive away from a charging station. Towns like Hyannis, Cody, Merrigan, Kilgore, and Thedford. Nebraska is the beef state, and I guarantee you that electric trucks are not practical when you're hauling livestock. One cannot afford just to pull over and start charging for 2 hours or even longer when the temperature is below zero. Cattle cannot tolerate it. And then think about not being able to charge at all. Or imagine EV ambulances that break down trying to get to a rural hospital, or EV buses breaking down trying to connect people to their jobs. These are very real considerations in states like mine. Nebraskans tell me over and over again that East Coast Washington bureaucrats have no idea what their policies will do in the Midwest of the United States. And guess what? They're right. Just as it turns out that EVs don't work in cold weather, these bureaucrats on the East Coast have no idea the implications of what their policies are to people in the Midwest. These major winter storms are a reminder that right now EVs don't have the performance or the reliance or the range in cold weather to be able to work in the Midwest. Imposing an EV mandate on Midwestern states like Nebraska is foolish, unworkable, and it's wrong, and I urge President Biden to reconsider this terrible policy. Until he does, I will continue to fight here in the U.S. Senate with every tool at my disposal. And with that, Madam President, I yield back. Thank you.